Hey guys, and welcome back to a new video. Recently I've actually been listening to a lot of Lil Baby, and he actually pretty much has his own sound with the triplet pianos and the frequent 808s. But me personally, I've actually been listening to way more of his emotional stuff. And to be honest, I actually feel like that's some of his better work too. So I actually got super inspired by the song named California Breeze. It's a very nice emotional track, which has this low-key guitar playing in the background with pretty much just a vocal phrase over it and some super nice drums over the melody. So today I want to make something similar to that song, and I really haven't seen a lot of emotional Lil Baby tutorials on YouTube either. So I thought I might as well show you guys how you can make something similar to that one. So let's go. So first things first, we definitely want to bump the BPM up to about 162. Something in between 160 and 170 should be fine. Now I know the track that inspired me had a guitar playing in the background, but for this one I actually want to do something similar to that one. I'm gonna just do it with the piano. So I just opened up this Noir pure piano in Contact, and the scale I'm going to be working in for this one is G minor. So since the scale is G minor, we actually want to start off with a G minor chord like this. But since we actually want a more emotional vibe, we're going to delete this middle note right here, and then we're actually going to use the root note as a D sharp right here. So you can already hear this chord sounds a bit more emotional. Now we're just going to extend this another bar. And then for the second chord, we're actually going to copy this over. We're going to keep these two notes the same, but this bottom note right here, we're actually going to pitch it down by 5. So these two chords pretty much complement each other super nicely, but I definitely want to have a nice switch up on this last part right here. So I'm just going to shorten this a little bit, and then we're going to add a F5 right here. And then we're just going to copy this note over, but we're going to pitch it up by 1 octave like this. And to get that nice transition, we're pretty much just going to use the same G note right here, but for this one we're also going to pitch it up by 1 octave. Now just copy this over and strum the whole pattern and see how it sounds. It has an emotional vibe to it. I actually really like the piano pattern, but I definitely want to add some lower notes. So we're pretty much just going to copy all these root notes right here and just pitch them down by 1 octave, so we have some bottom notes down here. Now that we pretty much have the whole chord progression down, I actually just want to add some accent notes here and there, just so we can add some more movement to the piano. So we can just cut this D sharp maybe, and then just adding an A sharp, but moving it slightly to the side, so we have this strum effect for the piano. Just remember to lower a little bit of the velocity on these accent notes. Now let's just add some effects to the piano. So for the effects, we don't want to overdo it since we want the piano to be a little bit raw. It actually gives some more feeling to it. So I'm pretty much just going to add some reverb, some saturation, and maybe some EQ. Just super simple. It just adds a little bit of color to the whole piano. So pretty much just 15% for the reverb. Just a little bit of tape saturation too. And lastly, just this EQ right here. So that's pretty much how the piano is sounding. Now it's a little bit too dry, so the next sound I'm going to be adding is just a pad we can layer over the piano. So I just opened up this composer pad in Contact, and we're pretty much just going to copy the exact same pattern over to this one. Again, super simple with the effects for the pad. Now we definitely need to add a vocal to this because that's pretty much the main part in his emotional songs. So for the vocals, I'm pretty much just going to open up Hooked in Arcade, and we definitely want some phrases for this one, because if we have somebody saying a phrase, it pretty much covers the whole sample and it sounds nice when you tuck it in the background. So I'm actually just going to click phrases right here and see if I can find a nice sounding vocal. Now for the vocal, we definitely want to add a lot of reverb. I'm doing 75%. Tuck it in the background with this EQ. We can actually try pitching it up an octave too. I like this. Alright, so we pretty much have the whole emotional sample down. If you actually listen to his emotional tracks, he pretty much still has some elements of dark trap stuff in them, especially when he's going from the hook to the verse. So for the verse part, I think I'm still going to add some elements of trap. So I just have this sound right here. I think this can go perfectly together with the piano on the verses, but we definitely need to add some effects so it fits a bit better. So I'm just gonna add some RC20 first using the Vinyl 3 preset right here. Then some reverb. And lastly some EQ. That's perfect. Oof. We can switch between the higher octave and the lower one too. Alright, so that's pretty much the whole sample. Now let's get on to the drums. Alright, so all the drum sounds I'm using in this one are coming from my No Limit drum kit. If you want to check it out or use the same drum sounds as me, it's of course the first link down below. Now the drum pattern for this one is super important. It's pretty much what makes these emotional beats a bit more unique than the usual. So I'm just going to start off with a clap, and a clap is super simple. It just goes right here as always. Now let's go for the snare. A super subtle but nice trick you guys can do on the snares is if you have two snares hitting right next to each other like this, you can actually go on this second one and just lower the velocity a little bit. It's pretty much just going to enhance the bounce for the snares. So now it's time for the hi-hats. Usually on the hi-hats you would hear some triplets, so for this one we're just going to keep it two-step, but we're definitely going to have some rolls that's going to enhance the hi-hat pattern. So I'm pretty much just going to keep this hi-hat pattern like this, but we definitely want to adjust some of the velocities on these ones, and we can actually also play a little bit around with these notes right here. So I'm just going to go into this brush tool, hold shift on my keyboard, and then we can pretty much just press under the note we want down, and it's going to go directly where we want it to. Now for the open hats, we definitely want to have them a bit more frequent. We can add one here. Now I think it's pretty much time for the 808. Now we're pretty much going to be using one pattern that you pretty much always hear in Lil Baby's beats, especially on these emotional ones. So that all you have to do is just click here, here, and here. So you probably heard this pattern before, but it sounds like this. It's a super basic pattern, but it has a lot of bounce, and it's actually also very catchy, especially if you heard it before, then you pretty much know what I mean. Now for these last parts, you pretty much always want to have some rolls at the end, but right here I'm actually going to switch it up a bit. So I'm just going to go right here and press this third step tool right here, and then we're just going to see if we can find a nice bounce at the end. Now we just need to layer this 808 with a kick too. I'm just going to boost this kick a little bit just to have it punch harder. Right, so I pretty much just arranged this super quickly right here. Right, so we just have the piano for the first part of the intro.
Shut up, Marko. Marko.
And the vocal comes in for the second part. Just the piano and drums on the first part of the hook. And the vocal comes in. We have a little cut right here. Then the trap sound comes back. Now the vocal comes in again.